Shocking new study as to why you're not losing weight on Zepbound weight loss and Wegovy weight loss. That is totally science-based. It's a new study that just came out. I am so pumped. The way I ran to the studio so I could talk all about this study. As always, I will link all of the scientific data down below so you can view it for yourself, of course, because I am not a healthcare provider and I don't pretend to play one on the internet, but I have lost 93 pounds in the last 21 months from taking GLP-1 medication. I took Mounjaro because of the Mounjaro shortage, switched to Zepbound because of the Zepbound shortage, switched to TIRZEPATIDE compound. Because of that, switched back over to Zepbound. So I am also wearing my peacock necklace because the count said I look skinny today and I'm proud as a peacock. So let's peacock our way over into this new study. It is from, and I'm so excited, it's from the Cleveland Clinic, which if you guys recall back when I was over on my Oprah Show episode, the doctors that were on that's by the way on Hulu. My before pictures were on the show, which is now it's the Shame, Blame, and Weight Loss Revolution from the spring. My segment got cut on that, but my segment did not get cut of me talking with Oprah at the end of the after show. On that show, there were two doctors, one of which he is incredible at the Cleveland Clinic. I need to reach out to him to get an interview, but I digress because there's this new study that just came out on the 4 key factors that massively impacted sustained weight loss. So if you are like me and you're like, boo, I have been on this for a hot second, or maybe you just started. Maybe you just started and you're like, I want to maximize and I want to lose as much weight as I possibly can during this pocket, because if you saw my last science video on Zepbound weight loss and GLP-1 Wegovy weight loss, was talking about around the 60-week mark that there's definitely a strong shift with GLP-1 medications on appetite suppression, food noise, food chatter. If you didn't see that episode, you should. So this came out in JAMA Network. It was on September 13th, 2024, talking about 1-year weight reduction with semaglutide or, practice it. It's another GLP-1 medication. It's Saxenda or Victoza. Hold on, I have my little... Liraglutide. I want to make sure I'm being pronunciation correct. So it's between those two. I'm including Wegovy in these. Wegovy is a semaglutide, as is Ozempic. But I'm including TIRZEPATIDE, meaning Mounjaro and Zepbound, into this. I'm looping that in because it actually has 2 hormone receptors, whereas semaglutide has 1. So it's actually higher. So the study, the JAMA study, did not include Zepbound or Mounjaro in it, but I'm including that. It was a study that it was a cohort study with 3,389 patients with obesity. So we're obesity focused, not type 2 diabetes focused, but a lot of people who have type 2 diabetes, who are on GLP-1 medications, fall into the obese or chronic obesity category. So basically what happened in there is they found through the Cleveland Clinic using electronic healthcare records for these patients, thousands of patients, either prescribed semaglutide or... I just listened to it. Liraglutide. Hopefully you guys heard that too. And that's Victoza or Saxenda, which by the way, why did no one tell me about that back in 2015? But I digress. It was from July 2015 through June 2022. So this thing. It was included, the BMI, people had to have a BMI of 30 or at least, or more. And they had to have obesity. So 54% were female, and then the average age of 50. The cohort was predominantly white, 68%, and included significant Black, 20%, and Hispanic, 7% populations. At the 1-year mark, said this study, 4 factors are the largest influencers on sustained weight loss. And here's how they affected if patients would achieve 10% or greater weight loss. Oh my God. Okay, so the first one out of these 4, I was like foaming at the mouth, is the active agent, which you can kind of figure that out, is patients who took semaglutide. So that's like what we now have, that's Wegovy, and then the FDA approval for type 2 diabetes is Ozempic. The FDA approval for chronic obesity management is Wegovy. So patients who took semaglutide were more than twice as likely compared to those taking, why can't I? Liraglutide, Saxenda, or Victoza. So people who are taking semaglutide twice as likely, which we already kind of knew that. That's kind of obvious. 2, indication. Those prescribed with medications for obesity were more than twice as likely to lose weight than those with type 2 diabetes. So if you are in my free encouragement group, we've talked about this extensively the last week. If you want to join my free encouragement group, there's thousands of us It's an amazing group. I'll talk about that at the end, but it's linked in the description link below. People who have type 2 diabetes, this study shows it, lose weight slower, and it's going to take a while longer. If you have type 2 diabetes, I want to give you a big hug first and foremost, and know, and for me, it's just part of the process. It's just part of the process. And if I can reframe it that way, that it's just part of the process, then it takes the sting out of comparison, which is the thief of joy, of looking around to all these thousands of people who are like, I know I'm a size 2, which is not me. I'm still a size 14. I'm still technically overweight. I'm not in the morbid, I was morbidly obese. And then obese, now I'm just overweight. And hopefully, God willing, I will get out of that category and be just a normal folk. But those prescribed medication, GLP-1 medication for obesity, more than twice as likely to lose weight than those with type 2 diabetes. So if you don't have type 2 diabetes, it's a pretty good indication you're going to lose more weight. 3. And I know if you have type 2 diabetes, I don't want you getting down on yourself right now. This is just some of them. That doesn't mean that there's exceptions to the rule or that you can push past this, which we're going to talk about as well. Don't you fret, my pet. Dosage is the third impact of how to really maximize weight loss and the greatest influence on sustained weight loss. Patients taking a higher dose of their medication were 1.5 times more likely than those taking a lower dose, which I kind of want to disagree with, because but this is where I disagree with, but I'm not a healthcare provider. And so this is in my brain. And so I'm going to walk it through with you, but I want to do the scientific data part of it. Like, right? Like, let's go with the scientific data and not my thoughts or theories. But I'm on the highest dose of medication. There's nowhere else for me to go. And we know, because I just reported on this 2 days ago, the episodes, which it may be off sequence from 2 days ago when you look in the past playbacks. But we know from the science that around the 60-week mark that there is definitely a shifting in appetite suppression, food noise chatter, appetite and food noise chatter. There's a shift in that. And so with that, depending on your dose, that's why I want to say if you're at the 60-week mark and you're on a lower dose, you have more of an arsenal to increase. I have nowhere else to increase with. So I'm at the 60-week mark. I can go anywhere. Now I really have to work on my skills set with food and with workouts. I am working hard, probably harder at my weight loss than I've ever worked at it, which says a lot. So the dosage on this, patients taking a higher dose of their medication were 1.5 times more likely than a lower dose. So if you're stuck, my encouragement to you is always to talk to your healthcare provider. Don't listen to me. I'll tell my experience, strength, and hope, honey. But at the end of the day, you need to talk to your healthcare provider. If you don't feel like you have a good healthcare provider, I encourage you to switch to Join Fridays. Join Fridays is who I've worked with since 2023. They have been guiding my health. I highly recommend them. Use the discount code QUEEN. You can save. They've recently restructured their pricing. If you're an old patient, you can stay under the old pricing. But as a new patient, it is sensational, particularly if you're transferring. So if you're on a higher dose too, their prices for higher doses are for compounds. Now, many of you are on compounds, and I don't want to confuse new people, but Join Fridays is a telehealth company. They prescribe both brand names, meaning Wegovy, Zepbound, things, GLP-1 medications for chronic obesity management, and they also prescribe compounds like semaglutide and TIRZEPATIDE, which we can get because they're on the FDA shortage list. You can still get TIRZEPATIDE because it's still technically on the FDA shortage list, although there's negotiations as to what's happening with all of that. So, which I've done other videos on if you want to know the full scoop on that. So they prescribe both of those, but with the compounds, they actually work with reputable compound pharmacies to ship straight to your house. And so that is fabulous. And the pricing on those compounds is fabulous. If you get the brand name part, you then figure out how to get your prescription filled. I do mine locally. I've done a whole video as to where the best places locally are to get your prescription. So click that like and subscribe button and get them. But Join Fridays will work with you if you're transferring your prescription, which so many people are doing. They're transferring over to Join Fridays because of the education structure built in there. Twice a week dietitian calls. I paid hundreds of dollars a month to have that, and it's now like separately included for free. There's no membership fee now as a new patient with Join Fridays, by the way. The pricing is the price. So you can pay if you're an old patient. You're like, what is she talking about? You can read your emails. They've emailed you. But you can pick a different pricing structure, which is fantastic. Which one you want. New patients, that's the pricing structure, which I will link down below. If you're a price shopper, it's to me, I was like, I want a quality-based leading expert in chronic obesity management who I'm going to be with, who's going to take care of me, who has an education portal that is exceptional. And that's why I love them so much. So going back over to this part of when talking about your dose, you can do two things with Join Fridays, which I can send in because I've been on my Zepbound 15 milligrams for what's called async, just to have my refill done. Or you can have a video chat with one of your healthcare providers, depending on your state. So they have different states have different rules and things like that. So you can meet with somebody video or the async if you've been on that prescription for a hot second. Like you have to, it can't be for a new prescription to do the async of where I just send it in the portal to get my refill. That is huge. And so many of you have switched over to Join Fridays, and so many of you love Join Fridays as much as I do. You guys are like, they're amazing. To me, I had worked with another telehealth company. Join Fridays is superior. I had also worked with my primary care doctor, which some of you guys have told me great stories of working with your primary care doctor. Mine was awesome to get me on the medication, but the sustainability, which is what we're talking about today, was not there. They were dealing with cold, flu. They were not dealing with GLP-1 medication and the monitoring in which needs to go with that, which Join Fridays does. They're science-based. They make you do blood work, which I appreciate. I'm like, thank you for making me do blood work. Okay, so number 3, with that dosage, talk to Join Fridays about increasing your dose. If you're stuck, you need to have a conversation with your healthcare provider. Like if you're like, oh my gosh, I've been in at a weight stall, then perhaps increasing to the next dose. But you guys know I'm always like low and slow wins. For me, it was what I wish I would have done. But this is saying about a person taking a higher maintenance dose of their medications were 1.5 times more likely than at a lower dose, which makes sense. Persistence was the 4th one. Patients with persistent coverage, meaning access to their medication, were more than 3 times as likely as those with least access. So this is basically also saying that shortages affecting our medication and not having that consistency of getting our access to our medication jacks with our weight loss. And I want to be like, shocker. That to me is not shocking. The part that was shocking to me was about type 2 diabetics, specifically twice as likely for people who don't have type 2 diabetes to lose more, like that those prescribed medication for obesity were more than twice as likely than those who have type 2 diabetes. So if you were like that, to me, I feel like for type 2 diabetics, it's very validating. Like that's probably very validating if you're having a slower weight loss journey. Now, when I reference this quite a bit because I think that it's important that comparison is the thief of joy, particularly in the GLP-1 community. I say this, I say it to you guys, but I say it to myself because I fall victim to it. When I was on the Oprah show, the gal that was there, the primary lead story, her name was Amy, and she's fabulous. She's really, really awesome, and I like her quite a bit. When I was on the Oprah show, I found myself sitting in I've never shared this before, and I'm going to get vulnerable, but I found myself getting very jealous sitting there of her success with her weight loss because she had been so morbidly obese and had beautiful skinny legs, and she had worked hard for this, y'all, and she had been to HE double hockey sticks and back. And so I sat there and then I realized I was like, as I was sitting there, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, of course I'm going to applaud her and cheer her on and be super happy for her. That doesn't make her shine any less. It made me sad for myself that I wasn't there yet in the time frame in which she had been. But here's the news flash that I want to say. If you're watching this video this far in the video, you've got grit and you've got determination. And that's a heck of a lot of a great quality. In fact, there was a new science study done talking about grit. I posted on my Instagram stories yesterday about how people who have grit and like persistence, this thing talks about persistence, but it's persistence in a different way, of you keep going. You're not to your goal yet, but you're gonna get there. I know you are. If you've watched it this far in your video, you've got grit. You've made it like you are going to get there. I know you are. And if you don't believe me, lean into my belief that I know that you're gonna get there. I know that you are. The accountant and I had this conversation earlier this morning about me. I was like, I'm so frustrated that I'm like stuck and I'm very hungry. It like makes me want to cry because I'm so frustrated. The last 3 days I have been so hungry and I've been hitting my macros. I've been hitting my protein. I've been doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm still so hungry. And then at nighttime, like 7 o'clock, I want to eat my arm off, even though I'm having 120 grams of protein. That's a lot of protein. So I think I need to increase my protein, but I digress on that. And I don't need you guys to diagnose me in the comments. Sometimes people go on here and I'm like, I was sharing, I wasn't asking for unsolicited advice. I will talk to my healthcare provider, which I always encourage, but I've hit this roadblock and I want to share with you my roadblock to hopefully help encourage you too, that I'm having roadblocks as well. I am frustrated as well at this part in the game, 21 flipping months in, that I'm not where I want to be, which is why I go back to comparison is the thief of joy. And when I was sitting in the audience and having those comparison thoughts, and when I'm honest, I still have them now today, not just when I was on the Oprah show, like still today, I still have those. I can look at this picture. Hold on, the computer would work. Oh my goodness, my computer's like freaking out. I look at this picture and be like, that's so amazing. But then I turn the picture off and then I'm like frustrated. But I need to be super grateful for where I am within this journey. It's huge. So if you're frustrated right now, embrace the frustration and do something about it. Have gratitude. This is what I'm telling myself. Let me use my eye segments. I'm having gratitude for where I've come, comma, but I'm also going to really work my butt off. And so the past 3 nights of being so hungry I could eat my arm off, I did make good choices. I make great choices. That is to be commended. And also my husband and I were talking, he's like, yes, you were super hungry and yes, you ate above your calories, but that's also a huge win for me because I used to get very triggered with tracking my calories and would binge eat and would not track it. I would eat like 5,000 calories, 3,000 calories, crazy calories. It was like a mukbang every day. Those mukbang where people just continuously eat. That was me every day, but not on camera. And now I tracked it. I know how many calories I had. I know how much protein I had. That is growth for me. And so I am celebrating in that growth while still being frustrated. And Daniel Tiger told me I can feel 2 emotions at the same time and that's okay. And so I can feel both grateful and also frustrated at the same time, and also knowing that I've got work to do. Because to me, this shows there's still more work to be done, right? It's another learning lesson, new level, new devil, another learning lesson for me. But I take this, there's more to the study, which I'm going to get back to, as incredibly encouraging information to be able to use as fuel for fire on my Zepbound weight loss journey. And if you're on Wegovy weight loss journey or semaglutide weight loss journey or tirzepatide weight loss journey, this is huge. Patient sex was also an important factor. Females in the study were 1.5 times as likely to hit the 10% benchmark as males. 2 of these factors may seem obvious: the active agent and dosage, meaning if you're taking semaglutide versus the Victoza or Saxenda. And if you're on semaglutide, by the way, the next step up is tirzepatide, meaning Zepbound / Mounjaro / tirzepatide compound. So that is something to look into as well, which is why you need to have a reputable healthcare provider like Join Fridays that you can have a telehealth visit with to go through all of this data with. Semaglutide resulted in the double average weight loss versus like the Saxenda or Victoza at 1.5% versus 2.2%. However, that's nothing new from prior studies. They've linked them down below. Show semaglutide is simply more effective for weight loss than Victoza or Saxenda. We know that. Evidence has also pointed to a higher maintenance dose of semaglutide being more effective for weight loss than lower doses. So if you're on the maintenance part of your GLP-1 journey, I am not. People ask me, and I'm not there yet. I can't wait. Y'all, there'll be a big party. The indication is complicated. The evidence is clear. And this is, by the way, my article is from Healthline. And so, like I said, I've linked it in the description link below. It, by the way, was also fact-checked too, which I do want to reference for being scientifically accurate in a day and age of where there's a lot of misinformation. I always want to make sure I'm being scientifically accurate. It is important to me. So the evidence has also pointed to higher maintenance doses. We already said that. Indication is complicated. The evidence is clear that patients prescribed a GLP-1 for obesity tend to lose more weight than those with type 2 diabetes. But why that's the case isn't so obvious. So they're talking about persistence being the big key here, creating a clear relationship between persistence and the degree of weight loss. Which, again, if you're watching this video, you are freaking persistent and you are hungry figuratively and literally. Well, maybe not literally, but figuratively, to keep going on your journey. As effective GLP-1 drugs are access to proven to be major roadblocks with Americans. With the roaring popularity of these drugs, patients have faced shortages, which we've talked about before. The bottom line is that long-term outcomes of GLP-1 medication can vary. Bottom line, more research identified these 4 most important factors for long-term weight loss in patients taking GLP-1 medication with the different ones that I have. Now, I'm going to be talking more about this on countessofshopping.com, my website and blog. I released 2 articles yesterday, 2 articles today. That's my goal, is to have 2 new articles coming out every day. So as much as you check YouTube here every day on a daily basis, because I do a daily YouTube video with my daily show, that you will daily check countessofshopping.com. And if you're brand new, dive in there. I have a free injection tracker, which I encourage you to do, so you know what shot site is the best for you. If you track the time of day, like there's some different variables that you have control over more so than you may think. But this information, I always like to say, we live at the best time to be alive. This is amazing information for us. And let's use it to our benefit of, if you're not where you want to be, or if you're like me, I'm at like the highest, there's nowhere else for me to go. If you're on semaglutide, you got somewhere to go, babes, or dudette, dude or dudette. You got somewhere else to go. You got somewhere else to go. But it is okay to be a turtle. There are solutions, and they are coming. And I lean into, in 2027 approximately, that there'll be new GLP-1s coming out, like the 2.0 GLP-1 medication. Right now, the biggest ones are Zepbound for chronic obesity management, and Wegovy for chronic obesity management. The king of that right now being Zepbound, of having the highest results with them. And some of me, if I'm brutally honest, I'm like, I wish I kind of had started at semaglutide. I was like, what if I had started there and then titrate? I don't know. You coulda, shoulda, woulda. I'm right where I'm supposed to be, because I'm learning a lot, and I need to not go down that path. I need to stay present where my hands and feet are. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I'm grateful for you. If you've watched this far in the video, I sincerely love you. Like, really, you motivate me. People watching and they comment, and it motivates me. And the free encouragement group, it motivates you. Me on Instagram, you motivate me. On Pinterest, you motivate me. On my website, you motivate me. I can see where people on my website, that like where they're coming from, the geographic location, like the state or country. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I don't have to do this by myself. You can if you choose to, but you don't have to. It is much more fun to have friends with this process. And you guys sincerely are my friends. 2 things. 1, if you've made it this far, your accountability question of the day is, what are you doing today to move you closer to your goals? Pause, think, reflect. Mine today, I am making sure I stay on calories, and I'm gonna make sure at 7 o'clock tonight, I do save some of those calories to have a big ol' honkin' protein something. Costco, my Costco order, they have so many good new proteins. They had pumpkin protein yogurt. It was expensive. It was like $3 for a container of it, but it was so good. 15 grams of protein, which doesn't sound like quite a bit, but oh my gosh, it was amazing. I'm going to be doing a new proteins thing if you're wanting some new protein ideas. We'll do that soon. And 2, the emoji of the day is going to be a check mark. Check, because we're checking off our scientific studies, which I'm nerding out over. These are really cool. So I'll link all of those down below, and a bunch of free information in Countess of Shopping too. And also, if you haven't shopped my Zepbound Amazon shopping list, that is linked down below. If you're new or if you are old school, I updated that recently, so check that out. And also the deals of the day, the Amazon deals of the day. There's been some really cool deals going on for Zepbound snacks. So, sweet friends, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I'm Countess of Shopping. Count my blessings, because life is delicious. Love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys. And don't forget to join Fridays. Use the discount code QUEEN, that extra discount code.